It's not often you tune into a smaller showcase expecting huge announcements that will surprise you, but for the second year in a row, the Future Game Show has managed to deliver a very exciting game. Amazingly enough, it's another Mass Effect-inspired experience, Archetype Entertainment's Exodus. Granted, this isn't a new game announcement like last year's The Expanse Osiris Reborn. If you've been following the developer's various teasers over the past few months, a bit of this probably seemed familiar. But after years of hearing about its ambition and how it wanted to deliver this role-playing game that measures decisions in hundreds of years, we have to admit, Exodus is coming together very well. From the outset, it's pretty standard sci-fi fare. You play as Jun Aslan, a salvager who has a special gift, and whose appearance you can customize. For some reason, they can access ancient celestial structures, which one of your companions calls a salvager's dream. But far from simply embarking on missions to discover valuables, you become a traveler, a faction that sets out to explore the universe and discover remnants, which are ancient relics. So far, pretty straightforward. Except the whole point of leaving Leiden, the moon that you call home, is to find a way to stop a disease called the rot. Then there's the other twist. Time passes at different rates. A week out in space can feel like years back home, and this is more than just some kind of interstellar-like plot device. It has a huge bearing on everything. We'll get to that, but when it comes to the moment-to-moment gameplay, whether you're interacting with different characters or engaging in combat, Exodus feels like it's hitting on all cylinders. A good example is a situation where you need to clear out a gaggle of mercenaries with an armored turret as backup. While you could simply go loud and start blasting, there's also the option to play it stealthily. Snipe enemies from afar in silence, crouch walk around and take down any unwitting fools, or embrace the assassin's path and deliver death from above. If things get too dicey, you can even activate the scramble cloak for some much needed invisibility. All of this would be well enough on its own, but the core combat is also more than up to the task of delivering some standout moments. Aside from a mysterious gauntlet passed down by his father, Jun can also use a grappling hook to get around the environment. This already opens up more traversal options on the battlefield, but in a particularly cool moment later on, it's revealed that you can grapple into cover. Of all the talk about revamping cover-based mechanics that I've heard of over the past few days, this is one of the coolest things that a third-person shooter/action RPG has done in years. But that's only the beginning. Synergies allow for comboing different abilities to create specific effects, and you can individually command companions in the middle of combat. No completely removing control like Andromeda or Dragon Age the Veilguard, though. Some of the abilities will look familiar. Singularity, anyone? But then there are those like Lance, which provides an upgrade while exploring. It's most useful for destroying the brambles created by the rot, but aim at a boss's weak points, as seen in combat versus the ghost cannon, and it can inflict some heavy damage. Another cool feature is effectively shaping terrain, thus creating cover on demand. It's already essential during traversal, especially when chaining its usage with grappling hook swings. But this means encounters won't simply be defined by existing structures and barricades that you huddle behind. And if all that wasn't enough, Jun even gets a sword as a melee weapon. Of course, all of this would matter very little if the story and characters weren't interesting. With Drew Karpyshyn of Mass Effect 1 and 2 fame and British sci-fi author Peter F. Hamilton, it's not just companions like Elise, Salt the Awakened Octopus, or the quirky Phaedra who feel unique. Even the NPCs are memorable, like an awakened elephant vendor who thinks Jun is making a joke about the animal and its ability to remember.
Regardless, nice to meet you.
You forget?
Ah, you're doing the thing. The elephant forgot something. Is it better or worse if I notice or not?
That extends to the choices and consequences apparent throughout the story, further aided by your ability to take the high road as a paladin or embrace the immortal lifestyle. Not every choice will be as black and white as seen in a later mission involving Phaedra and her grandfather, but that's the beauty of it all, especially in how it affects Leiden. You'll journey back to Persepolis between missions and hear stories about how the effects of time dilation, how it's affected certain individuals, and even shaped the city in different ways. New missions also open up and you'll meet new characters, which can either further the main narrative or lead to new opportunities. It's also where you'll reflect, not just on the validity of your mission and the emotional weight of past time, but also whether there's some kind of force that's guiding you along. Surely, CC Orlo, played by Matthew McConaughey, whose presence has the biggest selling point of Exodus when it was first announced, has some part in all of this, as he seemingly ventures through the universe, strumming his guitar and offering new upgrades for June.
Howdy, friend. Strange times we find ourselves in. Name's CC Orlev.
Oftentimes when you think of space, it's the grand scale that comes to mind. The sheer number of planets and stars, the vast emptiness of its reaches, the solitude and isolation that comes with venturing into the unknown. However, Exodus has seemingly tapped into what made the journey so worthwhile in the Mass Effect games. Rather than trying to capture every single corner of a vast volume of space, spreading its content thin, Archetype appears to present its stories in the universe, both individual and the bigger picture, over a seemingly impossible length of time. As a result, even when you return to familiar people and places, there's a feeling of wonder and curiosity, or trepidation and fear over what time does to everything. Make no mistake, you'll still explore some pretty fantastical locations. Ruins guarded by ghost soldiers who have no other directive than attacking all and sundry. Volcanic reaches with perilous paths, impressive celestial structures on a snow-covered world, even the sights and sounds of Persepolis. Yet the scale of the events is reflected on a more personal level. In the characters you meet, how you develop June, whether it's to be this legendary do-gooder or this infamous rogue, and what you ultimately decide. It may not seem like venting those mercenaries out of the airlock will have any long-term consequences, but what if there really are innocents among them? How will that come back to haunt the player? That such small acts could inspire such questions is one thing, magnifying that against the backdrop of a larger universe and its various species over centuries is quite another. At first, it seemed like Exodus would buckle under the weight of its own ambition. However, now that we've seen an extended gameplay look and how conversations, decisions, and combat flow into each other, we're incredibly hyped. It's out in early 2027 for Xbox Series X and S, PS5, and PC. And if Archetype Entertainment can leverage its premise to deliver on all that potential, creating an unforgettable space adventure in the process, then we could be looking at one of the dark horses of next year. Hey, did you know that we at Gaming Bolt upload new videos every day? Stick around, drop a like, subscribe, and hit that bell. And let us know what kind of content you'd like to see in the future with a comment below.